I know this phrase essentially dooms my session recap videos, but I really don't think this one's going to be all that long. The most significance there was to this one is we perhaps learned a few names, a battle, and of course lots of memes with Professor Yeetoricles. Our characters are resting outside the old owl well, ready to advance upon it. We wake up from our long rest, and there's some movement in the bushes, but nearby, but nothing we can see exactly. Something has disturbed some birds, but nothing that we can really sort of see upon closer inspection. Professor Yeetoricles, our newest party member, has and time traveller. He's preparing himself some breakfast. The future of breakfast, he calls it, which are these round wheat cakes. And upon being asked what they are, he says, "Well, I'm glad you asked. Introducing Yeetoricles." Very funny indeed. And he describes it as the future of breakfast. And when he says that it contains Yeetormins, our DM tells them to eat your cereal, damn it. So he does. As this is going on, I'm sort of chewing on some rations, and Eliza has gone out to hunt a hare. She brings it back, and she has her unseen and Yeetoricles has his unseen servant Bartholomew hold the hare above the created bonfire that I made, and starts to cook it, and it's quite nicely done. Much roleplay to be had right there. So after breakfast, after we've all eaten and whatnot, and we decide that we're going to advance upon the tower, the old well. What we initially see as a tower, later to reveal to be like crumbling ruins, and there doesn't appear to be any sort of signs of life there. It is quite a decrepit ancient ruin. However, upon closer inspection, the team moves forward. Ellie and Yeetoricles' familiar Lionel, the weasel, go forward to inspect things, and Ellie actually managed to find a tent with things that have notes and supplies or whatever, and she finds in these journals left behind some scraps of information, which our DM is going to write up and provide for us throughout the week, or at least next week when we next have our session. She sees mention of the word netheril, which is very much of interest to Yeetoricles. I do apologise, I'm not going off my notes here, I'm trying to keep things as concise as I can. So, upon sort of saying this, Eliza sort of follows up as well, and tries to get closer. There's a campfire near the tent as well that's completely burnt out. It's not been recently used as such. It's not warmed with a touch. It hasn't really been touched for 2 days, so when I say not recently used, it's not been used in over 2 days, so that much we can sort of guess. Inside the tower is a sort of lap desk, papers, quill. It's all very tidy. Journals thoroughly used, and there's other mention of sort of significant stuff here. Now, Netheril, according to Yeetoricles, is one of the floating cities that loomed over the world. It used to be a human empire, and the well here was supposed to be a source of everlasting water, so a continuous stream of water for the people to survive on, what with being up in the sky. So it's a very important place to him, and he wants to spend some more time here. So I think that's where the term netheril comes from, never-ending well. As Lionel, the weasel, is sort of walking around, he's smelling the area, and he doesn't really smell anything but a foul stench, later to be revealed to be decomposition. It's old, it's musty, it's a bit dead, but he can't really determine exactly where it's coming from, or what about it, or what it is, or how recently produced it is. So, as Ellie is sort of rifling through all of this person's belongings in the tent, a voice calls out for help, and saying, "Help! I'm over here!" And we recognise the voice as being that of Sister Garveld, and she's rather panicked. So Eliza's bolting over now, and I follow with the Professor shortly behind. So yes, so we start running now to the old owl well, proper, to try and get a good view of the place, and the sister is indeed there, and she's bound to the well by rope, and so Eliza frees. I've put here Eliza frees him. That's not quite correct, I do believe. So anyway. The sister then asks, "Is everyone here? Is it just you? Or is everyone else here?" And Eliza explains, "Well, not exactly. We've lost Emil. He's had to go to the temple in Neverwinter. However, we have with us a wizard." And the sister starts to flinch at this word, wizard, because there was a wizard who captured her by the name of Cost, Hader Cost, and she has red and black filigree sort of clothing. She doesn't really remember much. She was essentially like blindfolded and knocked out before being brought here to the well. Eliza's anxiety now is rising. We've never seen her like this, like really panicked. So she's having a full-on panic attack because she can't believe that she's actually hearing about these people, that these are the ones that she saw in the woods and were going that started her going to the cities, because she had witnessed a sacrifice, or a sacrifice in progress, and she was fortunately able to stop it. She managed to free the victims and flee, but now these people in the red and black, they're very much after her and are seemingly involved in this plot with Bane. So Ellie squeezes her arm gently and reassures her. The roleplay between these two has been fantastic in this session, by the way. It's incredibly strong. So Eliza introduces the sister to Professor Yeetoricles and tells of his story. As this is going on, the Professor is shouting, "I'm going to attempt echolocation," as he's yelling down into the well. And there is apparently water at the bottom of the well. And towards the southwest is a ritual circle of some kind. And Eliza's fairly convinced that this is a sacrificial circle. And once again she starts panicking, and Ellie's there to comfort her. So, as this is going on, I ask if I noticed the smell of death. And our DM says, "Oh, very much so." It's like, "You're more than familiar with it." So Garveld, he takes a big whiff, trying his best to fill his sinuses with it, and he's absolutely intoxicated on the smell because he uses his eyes flare up with this silvery mystical energy, and he uses his eyes of the grave to detect the undead. Coming from the circular tower to the east. And he can't actually see into it because there is a curtain blocking it. His neck is audibly grinding like stone to look towards this thing, and he's going to run over and just peek behind the curtain a little bit to see undead. And as this is going on, just before I can get any more information, I can only see a couple of about 4 or 5 zombies in there. Yeeto hears footsteps. Oh, I've also added here as well, I retroactively stand in the doorway and yell BONE! From Brooklyn Nine-Nine. So yeah. Yeeto hears marching. Rather footsteps, but not just any footsteps, marching up to the south path. South path. It's 2 orcs that he can see, and there's more coming along. Sister Garveld is now searching around for a holy symbol, trying to help with whatever's going on. Oh, I had a break earlier, and the sister does actually explain that this cost person has indeed summoned the zombies, or at least animated them or puppeteered them, as Eliza put it. So, so that's my sort of more immediate goal, or overarching goal. I need to find this cost person and deal with them. So Sister Garveld's looking for a holy symbol, a gold circle with Timor's face on it. And as this is going on, we hear a horn blow, as well as yelling, "Where are you, little mage? Come out and play!" Ito's worried. He knows that, like, it's not them they're after, at least is Emil's player. No, rather, Ito's player doesn't know, rather knows it's not him, but Ito's a bit worried because he's like the wizard of the group. So he uses a minor illusion to say, "Stop right there, you gits! I've got something you'll want." And at the base of the hill, at the southern ramp leading towards the centre, he places like a, I think it was like a silver packet. He holds like up a pack of silver. And because he knows Orcish, they ask, "Oh yeah, what is it?" He responds by saying, "I'm glad you asked! It's Nutriate! The perfect way to have a balanced breakfast on the go!" And before he can even finish, the DM just goes, "Roll initiative!" And so we do. I'm not going to go through all the combat stuff here, but it was... I do want to sort of share some of the ideas that Yeeto has. His mage armor is defensive time envelope. His ice knife is localized singularity. What was his scorching rays? I forget what they were. No, emergency chronal shift I think was the shield spell. What else is there that happens? Not Sanctuary. No, I think Sister Garveld cast it. I don't know if I'd... Oh yeah, Coronal Mass Injection. That was it. Just using all the energy of the sun and the stars and all this sort of thing to have great effect in combat. So these orcs are now, like, they're coming not just from the south, but also as well, Ellie hears they're coming from the northwest, and they're trying to advance up the hill. And they're all blowing horns to try and call for reinforcements. So this is going on. I pull back the curtain as Garveld Grammar pull on the curtain to reveal there's about 10 zombies in there, including one that I can't quite see clearly, but it appears to be a dwarven zombie there as well. It's very unlikely to be Gundren, because although we do theorise that it could be him, because well, he's a dwarf and his beard looks very similar, but we know where Gundren was found and buried, and we make sure we give him a proper service. So this could be Nundro or Thardran, so we will have to see. So basically all of the group is trying to hold up this defence as best they can. Orcs are pouring up the road, trying to use like their attacks to try and or their actions to try and get in, dash, and maybe do some damage as well. And they're all wielding great axes as well, so that's not good. So they are hitting like crazy, and do a lot of damage to the Professor as well, as best he can to try and evade his enemies and use all manner of tricks to try and avoid them. He's actually quite struggling to take them down and hold them back. Eliza is doing incredibly well, dancing with her Echo to try and swap positions, trying to get additional attacks where she can. She's using I think she used a bow to great efficiency as well. Eliza is searching through the tent as best she can, trying to do as much as she can while also suffering while the player is also suffering a migraine as well. So we of course wish everyone a swift recovery. Our DM as well had allergies, so that's unfortunate again. Wishing you all the very best for the next session. So Ellie's using like a hand crossbow and a rapier to try and get like 2 actions in at once, and yeah, again to somewhat great effect. Doing when they do damage a lot, like Ellie and Eliza particularly. This business in the eastern tower with the zombies, there are about 10 of them now, and they only really shuffle towards me until I start using my, or rather they only start to shuffle when I've used my spiritual weapon. So we've used the Bell of Silent Alarm icon, which reminds me I must make that icon. Yeah, so now they're starting to move, and they've only got this very small opening. They have to get past me with a contested athletics check. Most of them do succeed when they actually try, but it's having to be like one at a time. And tempted as I was to use Turn Undead and join the players with the Orcs, they seem to be handling things fine enough. I didn't really want them running down the hill and away from the place. I didn't want them to do that just to come back up again. I wanted to make sure that I had them all in one single area. This was a strategy, or at least a tactic, that I was borrowing from my time in the raid on Cragmore Castle, where basically we were trying our best to hold this location as best we could, and just try and contain the enemies. So if I can keep them in this tower, that means they're not spilling out onto the battlefield, getting butchered by the Orcs or anything like that. This is my thing to do. Not that anyone, no, saying that my teammates couldn't help me. I would obviously appreciate it, but like Garveld very much knows how he wants to deal with things. He prefers to deal with the undead than the living. So if everyone else wants to deal, because I'm fine, I'm perfectly equipped to deal with those, like all the zombies in that environment. Everyone else would probably be much better suited against the Orcs. Their abilities are probably going to be much more useful. Like Sister Growl's help might have been useful with the radiant damage and whatnot, because a few of these enemies went down with Word of Radiance, liberal uses of it, and they weren't actually getting up because of radiant damage. Now I don't know if that's rules as written or whatever, but honestly I would probably rule that myself as well, that if an enemy is defeated, that if these zombies are defeated by the radiant damage, they can't get up again. So, yeah, I think that's fine. But yeah, Sister Grail has a few, I would say a few clutch victories, with like Sanctuary and things like that. But unfortunately, no, it's not quite as effective as we would have liked it to have been. So yeah, so we have about about 5 rounds of combat, I would say. And we have about 5 rounds of combat before, because all the Orcs are slain. There's no doubt about it, they're the toughest enemy here. They're essentially the centerpiece of the fight. And they're all defeated eventually by the party. Fantastically played. Did everything they possibly could, given quite dire circumstances, IRL, what with allergies, migraines and so forth, and having COVID. Yeah, they played spectacularly well. But a bit of feedback, and honestly I don't think it could have really gone any other way, but when all the orcs are slain at the end of this, and I will probably do a video on this separately, actually talking about it more in the context of MMORPGs, massively multiplayer online role-playing games, is that our DM had said that, okay, well, now the orcs are all dead, we're running out of time, like, we've got another 20 minutes, do you want to still fight the orcs, or fight the zombies, or do you want to automatically win? And, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'll take an automatic win, you know, but I was a bit, not miffed, but I was a bit taken aback. I think that's the proper term. I was a bit taken aback because, like, my character's whole thing is dealing with the undead, and to not sort of have fun smashing their faces in, because, like, I mean, everyone in my group knows I'm not a good I'm not even a decent role player. I'm really sort of there, if anything, as like a third wheel in combat. Yeah, it's like that's where I truly shine. And even then, I don't really truly shine. I just actually do things in combat. Sometimes cleverly, sometimes things work. But yeah, basically we're told that this thing that your character exists to do is just going to be skipped over. Kind of rubbed me the wrong way a bit. And it sort of goes into this idea of trash fights, like whether you like them or not, they are still trash. They are still wasteful of time and energy and resources. But then, you know, hey, would I really want to spend any more spell slots when I've just used the spiritual warhammer? Do I want to do anything else? Sorry, spiritual weapon. Do I really want to spend any more spell slots defeating a relatively easy foe over the course of the next half an hour? Or do you want to do some roleplay, learn some stuff before we call it a night? Because we do actually end, I think, at exactly... oh no, 9:30. Yeah, because we started earlier, I think, due to daylight savings. So, yeah, so it did sort of rub me the wrong way, but I understand why it had to be done. And honestly, I'm never glad that I miss a session. There was actually a game yesterday at the time of recording this, and there's going to be a one-shot. And I missed that because I had to go to an event. I bought a nice dice bag from the Elsica Mind, Body and Spirit event. Not entirely my thing, but it was just a day out, really, so yeah. And I got a nice dice bag out of it. Nice. But yeah, I really wanted to be there for that one shot, but I got to spend the day with my partner, and I'd rather take that any day. So, moving swiftly on, I've got to be very careful what I say as well, because she watches these videos, so... So moving on, from the hot water that I found myself in at the Netherrealm well, we win the fight basically automatically. It just ends, and all the zombies fall dead, and I'm going to take the time to, I insist on taking the time to drag them, bury them myself, and make sure that they're dealt with properly. Meanwhile, everyone else is sort of looking over everything. Ellie's taking the journals. She's packing them away into her backpack. Sister Garel's packing up things, trying to answer questions as best she can. The Professor is also going to look at the sort of ritual circle on the ground. He recognises some of the symbols and brings me over and says, hey, look, I recognise one of these as necromantic. Is there anything you can learn about it? I don't know anything about the runes, though, and their context in this circle, so it might be that they were used for teleportation, maybe. It might be used for raising the dead. It could be, for all I know, it could be perfectly fine magic. Necromancy has... the school of necromancy has been used to good effect, like, for instance, toll the dead, spare the dying, or revivify, for instance. I think as well the false life, I think as well, is a necromancy school spell, and that's like additional temporary hit points. So that's good. So yeah, so this circle we have no idea about. We all have our theories. Like, I accidentally called it a teleportation circle, thinking it was like the one in Cromwell Castle, but I actually had to correct myself and say, yeah, it wasn't a teleportation circle. We didn't know what it was. What else happened? Oh yes, our DM's going to write down some keywords or topics to bring up in the journal entries that she's going to post for us. Yeeto with a 14 history future. Check. He doesn't know anything about these puzzles that have been mentioned. What was it? Haida? Was it Hala? Harlia? No, it's not Harlia. That's the woman who runs the Haida Cost. Harlia runs the Miners Exchange. Haida Cost mentioned this puzzle, 2 pieces of a puzzle, and to a figure that she couldn't quite see while she was bound. But apparently there are 2 pieces of a puzzle, and one of them couldn't be found here. So we're going to see what awaits us. So we might be solving that puzzle here if we can get that information, so we can think about what the answer is out of character, and then when we're in game we can decide what our next move is going to be. Ellie, at least I think, because I always confuse Ellie and Eliza. I do apologise. Ellie wonders of the orcs having run into Dread Tyrant, so yeah, so Ellie wonders if these orcs have meddled with any of the Bay Knights before. Maybe they're running away from something rather than just running to the mage. This is just a convenient stop for them on their way to perhaps a more defensible location. Who knows? So Ellie and Yeeto are going to look around. It takes me about 30 minutes to drag the bodies and bury them, and then a bit more time to bury them. Even with mould earth, I'll still insist on using my shovel as well. Garveld, although he is arthritic and more than likely diabetic in his old age, he will still try and use his hands to the best of his abilities before he can use his mould earth spells to try and dig the graves. So Yeeto and Eliza are going to look around and try and solve the puzzle of the Old Owl Well, whatever that puzzle may be. Before we end, I just want to add as well that I consider going to Agatha the Banshee in Conyberry. She's not that far away from us, so with any luck she might have some information that may be of use to us, but we shall have to see. So I think I'm going to call it there. Like I say, I'm genuinely amazed that this video's gone on for about 30 minutes now, but and I didn't really actually mention all that much about the combat. But it would have been a much longer video, and it probably would have been much more interesting. It genuinely doesn't feel like half an hour's passed. I can't believe it. But yes, I'm going to end this video here. Thank you ever so much for watching. Yes, I might have to do some editing as well. We shall see. Yeah, so it's time for now.